The alien executioners landed with thunderous purpose, their colossal ships descending upon Earth, cloaking cities in darkness, and casting an aura of dread over millions below. People looked up, their expressions painted with terror and awe, realizing these weren't the usual mysterious lights in the sky. These were harbingers of destruction. The executioners wasted no time. They initiated their plan with ruthless precision, showing Earth exactly what they were capable of. Every major city within their reach saw swift devastation. Massive energy pulses ripped through buildings, entire blocks reduced to ashes in seconds. Screams echoed as families scrambled for safety, but in the face of alien technology so advanced, all efforts felt futile. Earth's military defenses, meticulously honed for decades, launched their counterattacks, but it was like throwing pebbles at a tidal wave. Missiles and fighter jets exploded midair before they could even approach the alien crafts. The executioners watched these attempts with cold detachment, as if the human efforts were nothing more than a passing curiosity. Around the world, leaders tried to communicate with the alien force, broadcasting desperate messages of peace and negotiation. But the executioners responded with silence, punctuated only by the hum of their ships preparing for the next strike. Their mission was simple: total compliance, or obliteration. They were known throughout the galaxy for one thing: their ability to enforce the Empire's will through fear and destruction. No planet had ever successfully resisted them. They left only submission or desolation in their wake. On Earth, panic spread like wildfire. News channels struggled to keep up, broadcasting live scenes of destruction and devastation. Citizens huddled together in fear, many whispering prayers, others clinging to loved ones, some just staring in numb disbelief. The message from the executioners was clear: Earth would either bow to their empire or suffer complete annihilation. As the destruction unfolded, the aliens issued a chilling ultimatum, broadcasting it in multiple languages. Their voices, hollow and mechanical, spoke in perfect clarity, demanding Earth's immediate surrender. The alien commander stated calmly that any resistance would be met with consequences beyond comprehension. Earth's inhabitants needed to make their decision quickly, or else they would witness the full wrath of the Empire. Across the planet, people tuned into these broadcasts, their eyes wide with terror, trying to grasp the reality of what was happening. Some called for resistance, others despaired, and a few urged submission, desperate to avoid further bloodshed. In the face of such overwhelming force, humanity's spirit wavered. The Earth, it seemed, was outmatched and facing the darkest moment in its history. But amid the destruction, some whispered of strange incidents, unexplainable events that hinted that Earth might not be as helpless as it seemed. The executioners continued their assault, sweeping across Earth with the same unyielding precision that had conquered countless worlds. But then, in the middle of their assault, a strange phenomenon occurred. One of their main vessels, without warning, powered down in midair. It hovered, shuddered, and then fell silently to the ground, crumpling like a lifeless shell. Alarms blared across the fleet as the executioners scrambled to understand what had just happened. At first, they assumed it was a technical malfunction, something that could be explained and fixed. But then it happened again, this time with a ship over another continent. Energy surged uncontrollably through their systems, causing panels to spark, consoles to black out, and communications to fail. Crew members on board tried to restore control, but it was as if the very air around them had grown hostile. Soon, whispers spread among the fleet, uneasy murmurs of something wrong, something they couldn't quite grasp. As the executioners regrouped, some of their ground troops reported seeing strange shadows moving at the periphery of their vision. These weren't ordinary shadows. They moved with purpose, slinking along walls, vanishing into the air only to reappear closer. The executioners had trained for everything: combat, espionage, survival in hostile environments. But nothing in their training prepared them for shadows that seemed to watch, follow, and surround them. Their alien commanders dismissed these sightings as battlefield stress, a result of being in an unfamiliar environment. Yet, as the sightings increased, even the most hardened among them felt a growing sense of dread. Their equipment began malfunctioning in inexplicable ways. Precision instruments that had always been reliable now provided strange readings, showing fluctuating energy signatures, sudden temperature drops, and fields of radiation where none should exist. Drones sent to scout areas vanished without a trace. The executioners began to suspect Earth's people had weaponized some unknown technology, but the more they investigated, the less sense it all made. This was not the work of human hands. Then came the first direct encounter. In the heart of a ravaged city, an alien captain reported seeing a figure. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a shadow, but it solidified, growing larger and darker, until it was unmistakable, a cloaked entity, tall and foreboding, its eyes glowing a deep, unnatural hue. The captain's attempt to communicate with it was met with silence. In that moment, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: fear. A deep, primal fear, as if he were facing a predator that saw him not as an adversary but as prey. Reports of similar encounters flooded in. Alien soldiers in various locations reported sightings of a figure that appeared only briefly, yet left a lasting, chilling impression. Those who encountered it described a sensation of being stripped bare, exposed in a way they could hardly articulate, as if the entity could peer directly into their minds, their souls. The alien commanders, initially skeptical, grew wary. They began pulling back troops, consolidating forces, and reassessing their strategy. But no matter where they went, this presence seemed to follow them, always lurking, always watching. Human resistance forces noticed the change. They could see the executioners' growing unease, their hesitation. Encouraged by these strange phenomena, the resistance began to strike back, small attacks on isolated alien units, knowing they were no match in direct combat but now emboldened by the aliens' visible disorientation. For the first time, Earth's defenders sensed that maybe, just maybe, they weren't fighting alone. The entity's presence grew more pronounced. It appeared in more places, materializing without warning, vanishing just as suddenly, but always leaving an air of terror in its wake. The executioners, trained to be ruthless and logical, found themselves second-guessing every step, every order. What had seemed like a straightforward mission now felt like walking into a trap, one they couldn't see or understand. Alien communications, once precise and efficient, grew tense, with commanders arguing over the best course of action. Some insisted this was merely an illusion, a trick by Earth's defenders, while others whispered that they had stumbled onto something far more dangerous than anticipated. It was an unspoken fear, but it crept into every order, every interaction, a collective unease that shook the executioners' unbreakable discipline. Just as they considered a full retreat, the entity made itself known in a way they couldn't ignore. A message pulsed through their ship's systems, written in their own language, though no one had transmitted it: "Leave now, or face the wrath of death." The words glowed across every screen, echoed in every communication channel, and froze every executioner in place. The executioners gathered for their final assault, determination etched into their expressions, though now tainted with a sense of dread they couldn't shake. They readied their most advanced weaponry, recalibrated their strategies, and bolstered their ranks, prepared to crush whatever force Earth might throw at them. The entity known as Death, however, was waiting. As they advanced, Death appeared, solidifying into a form they could no longer dismiss as shadows or hallucinations. Standing taller than any of them, cloaked in a dark mist that seemed to absorb light, it moved with a grace that was both terrifying and mesmerizing. Its presence stilled the air, making each executioner feel as if they were submerged in a thick, heavy silence. The executioners aimed their weapons, their fingers poised on triggers, and launched their assault. But Death didn't counter with traditional force. Instead, reality seemed to distort around it, warping the air as if the very fabric of space was bending to its will. Time itself felt twisted. Some executioners found themselves frozen in place, unable to move, while others experienced a rapid acceleration of their senses, heightening every sound, every heartbeat, until it became overwhelming. The entity did nothing overt, yet the executioners were consumed by a sense of disorientation that blurred the lines between illusion and reality. One by one, executioners began to hallucinate, their minds filled with their deepest fears, conjured not by physical attack but by a force that reached directly into their thoughts. Hardened soldiers, who had never flinched in battle, found themselves trembling as they confronted visions from their darkest memories, failures, fears, and lost comrades. The calm, methodical executioners were now fractured, each battling phantoms that only they could see, lost in a web of fear spun by death itself. A commander tried to rally them, shouting orders that fell on deaf ears. His words echoed hollowly as his troops turned on each other, some running in terror, others lashing out wildly, desperate to fight off threats that existed only in their minds. Those who managed to resist the illusions were immobilized by an even more potent terror. They realized the entity was not just exploiting their fears but feeding on them, drawing strength from the chaos it sowed. In the heart of the disarray, death moved silently, unfazed and unchallenged. Its form seemed to shift, taking on elements of each executioner's culture and beliefs, appearing as a shadowy figure in the shape of gods, monsters, or ancestral legends. To each executioner, it was something different, something deeply personal, embodying the ultimate fear they couldn't conquer. It was not simply an enemy. It was their reckoning, a force beyond any they had known. Desperation set in, and in a final act of defiance, the executioner leader, blood pounding with fear and fury, called for an all-out attack on the entity. Soldiers launched every weapon at their disposal, firing high-energy blasts that had once destroyed entire cities. But death absorbed the energy, twisting it into dark, writhing tendrils that reached back, striking each weapon, each soldier, with their own force. Weapons that once felt like extensions of their own strength now turned against them, twisted by a power that defied explanation. Those watching realized they weren't facing a conventional adversary. Death was a primal force, an ancient energy connected to Earth itself, a protector born not of machines or tactics but of something infinitely older and stronger than anything they had encountered. They were invaders, and death was Earth's answer, a guardian rooted in the very soil they sought to conquer. As the executioner's final assault faltered, death loomed over their broken ranks, its form growing larger, its presence more consuming. It offered no words, no demands. It merely stared at them with those piercing, fathomless eyes, as if peering through each of them, assessing their worth, and finding them wanting. The executioners, once a force feared across galaxies, stood trembling, diminished by a being that hadn't fired a single shot. Panic took over. Those who could still move began retreating, dropping their weapons and abandoning their equipment, scrambling back to the safety of their ships. The entity watched, an impassive witness to their downfall, as the executioners, who had come to instill fear, fled in terror. For the first time in their existence, they understood what it meant to face something truly unstoppable, a force that did not just repel but utterly destroyed them without lifting a finger. As they stumbled back to their ships, a chilling message echoed through every mind, every device, in the executioner's own language. *, you have invaded a place you cannot conquer. Leave, and never return. *, it was not a threat, but a final, absolute command, a proclamation that Earth was under the protection of a power they could not comprehend. And with that, death faded, its shadow dissolving into the dark, leaving nothing behind but a silence heavier than any they had known. The executioners staggered back to their ships, broken and humiliated. For the first time, the universe's most feared enforcers tasted the cold grip of true terror. In silence, they moved through their vessels, their once disciplined ranks now disorganized and frantic, haunted by images and sensations they could neither understand nor explain. Shadows seemed to cling to them, and the feeling of being watched persisted even as they reached what they once thought was safe ground. Commanders, usually steady and sure, had no words to rally their troops. Their orders faltered, their confidence shattered. Communication channels buzzed with panicked whispers, snatches of fear slipping through. Each ship prepared for an immediate retreat, their systems buzzing to life as their craft groaned with the strain of such rapid preparation. The executioners wanted nothing more than to leave Earth behind, a place that had become, for them, a realm of nightmares. As their engines roared and ships lifted off, an unnatural quiet descended on Earth below. Humanity, largely unaware of what had transpired, began emerging cautiously from shelters. In cities that had been laid to waste, people stumbled through the rubble, dazed but alive. They could see the alien ships pulling away, retreating in a disordered fashion that spoke volumes. Earth, against all odds, had survived. Across the galaxy, rumors spread like wildfire. The executioners had returned from Earth defeated, not by superior firepower or cunning tactics, but by something inexplicable. Whispers of death began to circulate, mutating into legend with every telling. Word reached distant planets, drawing the attention of alien races that had once eyed Earth with interest. Tales grew of Earth being guarded by an unstoppable force, a protector that had sent the executioners fleeing in terror. For Earth's people, life slowly returned to normal, though traces of the invasion remained. The debris of alien technology was strewn across cityscapes, remnants of a battle that had nearly cost them their world. Nations scrambled to collect these pieces, knowing they held secrets of technology far beyond their own, hints of power and innovation from across the stars. But even as humanity studied these artifacts, a quiet respect for the unknown protector settled in the hearts of many. Somehow, Earth had been defended by forces they couldn't see, forces they hadn't even known existed. Back in the alien empire, the executioner's failure became a subject of shame. The empire's leaders convened, desperate to understand how their most formidable forces had been humbled. There was no report, no debrief that made sense. The executioners, broken and fearful, could offer no clear explanation for what had happened. All they could recount were fragments, a dark figure, the feeling of dread, and the chilling, final warning, leave, and never return. The memory of Earth became etched into the Empire's history as a place where their best had been undone by a force beyond their comprehension. Even the most arrogant among them hesitated to suggest another attempt. Earth, though small and seemingly vulnerable, had gained an aura of untouchable mystery. The executioner's retreat became a story retold in hushed tones, a cautionary tale of a planet that held something stronger than any weapon or army. Across the galaxy, it came to be known that Earth, though seemingly just another world, was not one to be challenged. Whether by fate or design, it had proven itself as a place of indomitable spirit, shrouded in a power that defied even the greatest of conquerors. And so, the stars held their silence regarding Earth, marking it as a place where even the fiercest would hesitate to tread. Earth, untouched and unknowable, stood as a reminder that some worlds guard themselves in ways no weapon can match. For those who had faced it, Earth had become sacred, a mystery to be respected and, above all, avoided.